Hello, welcome to the Bible study. Today we're in John chapter 19, and we're particularly, I want to look at one or two of the things around this and what happens through the cross and the power of the cross, because this is really those last moments of Jesus' journey before he goes to the cross. And yeah, there's so many things that Jesus came to fulfill. And as you look into the scriptures and as you delve into the scriptures, you'll find that time and time again, what appear to be inconsequential or little actions are actually an important part of the journey of Jesus bringing freedom to us in a complete and total way. So, reading in John 19, and you'll see what I mean here. John 19, chapter 1 starts. It says, Pilate took Jesus and had him flogged. It says, the soldiers twisted together a crown of thorns and put it on his head. They clothed him in a purple robe. We can't even get our heads around the brutality of what's going on here. But we have to see it in the context that Jesus came to fully take away the impact of the fall, of sin, and of what's going on deep in the heart of man. And so there were no shortcuts. There was only one way that Jesus could totally cover everything, and that's the way that he took. And he didn't take it in a light-hearted way. It says he endured the cross, scorning its shame for you and me. Why did he do that? Because of the joy set before him. What was the joy? The joy was you and me. The joy was releasing the sons and daughters. The joy was the liberation of creation. Just absolutely incredible. So here you can see that the first thing, pick up in verse 2, it talks about the crown of thorns that has been put on Jesus' head. It's no coincidence that there's a crown of thorns. There's almost a contrast there to in Ephesians where it talks about the helmet of salvation and the protection that the helmet of salvation brought. Now, you follow back right into creation is where you get the first mention of thorns, and I think this illustrates, the the complete work of the cross. And I'll give you a couple of other examples. There's many, many more, but I won't have time, to do them. So if you go back to the fall and you read through Genesis chapter 3 and pick up partway through, it actually says that as a result of the fall, when God's speaking to Adam and Eve, it says, basically through painful toil you'll work the ground. It's like this laboring that's going to happen. And he then talks about in verse 18, talks about the thorns and the thistles that are going to grow up and choke the land and make it unfruitful. And you can reference through the Bible a number of times where it talks about the lack of fruitfulness in the land and that sense of a curse being on the land. Really, that's what happened in Genesis. There was a curse on the land. Now, the journey doesn't end there. You follow through about thorns and thistles. Probably the best parable that contains them is the parable of the sower, and it says, some seed falls on hard ground, and you have the impact of that, implying the hardness of heart. It does say that the seed represents the word of God, and it says some falls among the thorns and the thistles where it's unfruitful. And so Jesus, he basically says that unfruitfulness of the thorns represents where life is choked out by the riches of the world and its pleasures. So can you see here that Jesus came to deal with a battle over the mind, came to deal with this fight that goes on where the things of the world, the riches of the world, the worries of the world, the concerns of the world, the things that really drop in on people's lives, that Jesus came to overcome that. He came to deal with the thorns and the thistles that causes almost like this cursing on the land. And he comes to reverse that, to undo that. And that's just one of many different things. I'll give you a couple of other illustrations. And what I want really to do here is to provoke you when you read Genesis for the next time, that particularly the first few chapters, read it with a eye to say, this is a consequence of the fall. Where can I find in the New Testament that Jesus, you know, by the work of the cross, by the grace of the cross, undoes the damage done by the fall? Now we need to remember, Jesus more than undid the damage. He actually brought restoration, brought powerful restoration for us that went well over and beyond the consequences of the fall. So, again, you look in Genesis and you see, Adam and Eve were naked. That in itself wasn't the issue. It was after the fall they realized they were naked and they covered themselves. Why? Because what they became aware of was shame. And shame is literally a crippler. When people are caught and ensnared by shame, it's like their life, is drained out of them. Now you move to the New Testament, and what did Jesus, come and do? It says that he, was stripped naked, and it's in that sense that he took that nakedness, he took the shame upon himself on the cross, that we might not live under shame and guilt and fear and those things, but that we might have freedom in him. So you see the contrast there. Another one in Genesis 3:19, it talks about the sweat of the brow, and it says, through hard work you'll work the ground. So you'll still be able to achieve stuff, but it comes not from a place of rest, but from hard work. And it's so important that we live, and our church community as well, lives from a place of rest. It's very easy for church to become a realm of hard work. And there's nothing, serving and all those things are great, but when it's pressured by hard work, then that actually goes against what Jesus came to do. And you go into the New Testament and you find that at the garden, it looks like the video is getting caught a bit there. So and dropping and nearly knocking it over. Sorry if the video is getting out of sync. I will be sorting this laptop very soon. So again, you've got the sweat of the brow, and Jesus, it says he was sweating drops of blood. He came to take away the impact, the negative impact that came through the power of the cross. Yeah, we may work hard. There's a difference between that, working from a place of rest. One more, I think, that's important in as a consequence of the fall is that separation that happens. They're thrown out of the garden. They're separated from God. And what happens, as we saw in the previous session, Jesus gets separated from his disciples. That's represented very strongly through, Peter. This journey to the cross is a journey on his own. It's a journey of loneliness and isolation. Why? Because Jesus came to deal with those things, to give us another route. And when he gets to the cross, you get that moment where it's like God turns his back on him. Jesus was used to seeing his Father face to face, turns his back, and he cries out, my God, why have you forsaken me? So those are a few illustrations now. We're obviously focusing here. Let's get back to John 19. You got the crown of thorns, the way they clothed him, the way they treated him. Every single bit here is about bringing freedom, for us. So I'm going to stop there, and next time we'll, almost just read some of John's gospel, because it just has to be imbibed, taken on, and we embrace the freedom that was given to us. Bless you. Sorry, I think the recording went a little bit off in the middle. Hopefully it's not too off-putting. Have a great day. Look forward to being with you next time. Bye for now.